Hello! This is gonna be a little late. It's Thursday, not Wednesday, and so sorry about that. And I didn't really have a time to do it, so I'm gonna do it now. So the prompt was like, how do you connect with Kurban, and how do you, excuse me, what characters do I connect with, and how would they see me, or what I know about them? So I kind of like what James said. I do connect with Kurban on the idea of the knowledge that he wants to have, because I personally would never know what it feels like to not be able to obtain knowledge of any kind, to be prohibited from obtaining any knowledge that I wish, because of circumstances that I am in, like Kurban was in the show. I think that knowledge is power. You know, the pen is mightier than the sword, and I think that's an interesting idea to think about, that Kurban can't have that. And it's happening a lot where, like, they don't want specific people that, man, my headband looks really awful. I'm sorry, I'm going on a rant. They don't want they don't want people to have text or other text. I know there was a time in the Crusades where they would burn books, like giant piles of books that were not religious texts, because it was making people giving people other ideas of the world. It can, break them away from religion or so forth, giving them other lenses to look at. If Kurban were to see me at the time of this when this was written and when he was young, I would imagine he would be kind of really upset, because he was like, why does he get to learn what he wants but I can't? What makes him, or why can't I want to strive to learn like he does? Why is that? Why am I prohibited from learning just like any other person? I don't really know who I connect with I'm just going to take this off. I don't really know who I connect with in the show, or in this play, or really at all. Because, honestly, I know I talked to Mauricio about this yesterday, so I know you're watching this. It is hard to connect with a refugee of any kind, because I am not one. My parents lived in the United States, and they grew up in New Jersey. Yeah. And I never really could imagine what it feels like to have your home be ripped away from you without it, just because. Or to have to abandon everything that I own and take only the things that I absolutely would need, and then go. And just go. Just and never come back. And never come back home. Really, find a new home somewhere else, which might not even be at all better than where I used to live, which is a terrifying thought to think about. Another thing is that when I talked to Mauricio, I was talking to a friend of mine, and I was talking to them about how I felt about our process. And I thought that, well, I feel lost in it, because we are focusing, or at least from my perspective, and I might be wrong about this, focusing too much, or very much, on the realistic implications of this process. The idea of Kurban being the centerpiece, and the fact that he's from the Middle East, or the fact that it's refugees and most of us aren't. But then that friend of mine was like, well, what about the future? And I was like, what do you mean? And they're like, well, what if you put your show in the future? Then imagine the United States, people of the United States, citizens of the United States, being refugees. by putting it in the lens of the possible future, what happens when the United States citizens are at risk of their homes because they themselves are refugees at some point? And now, technically, the United States started that way. The colonies were were in a way refugee settlements from England. In a way. What happens if we are ripped from what happens if where I am right now, which is my girlfriend's apartment, which is kind of where I do all these videos, what happens if she is kicked out, she's kicked out of this and put on the street? Not only does she lose everything that's in here, and she's just forced to be with her, or what happens if I'm kicked out of my apartment with my parents? What do we do? What do we take? How could I ever do that? And I think by putting us in the future, by making us have a connection via a fantastical or theoretically fictional situation, then we can have real progress in how to develop this story while still having the center ideas of this piece being Kurban and so on and so forth, without maybe ever even using their names. That's just a thought.